I'm Tom McLaughlin, coming to you from the 46th ALEC annual meeting in Austin, Texas. I'm here with Dr. Kevin Dayaratna from the Heritage Foundation. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Good to hear.
Good to be with you, Tom.
So I understand that you guys are, you're speaking in the Energy, Environment, and Agriculture Task Force, that's correct?
I sure am.
That's great. So I understand that you guys have been doing some work with predictive modeling and a cost-benefit analysis with the Green New Deal and carbon. Can you tell me more about some of that stuff?
Yeah, so absolutely, Tom. So it's clear that we all want clean air, clean water, and a healthy environment. And I think everybody agrees that the climate is changing in some capacity. But we hear about policies such as the Green New Deal and other related policies that are meant to mitigate the problem. And it's important to look at cost-benefit analysis regarding these policies. What are the costs? What are the benefits? And what we found is that the Green New Deal in particular would come with devastating economic costs and essentially no environmental benefit whatsoever.
You say devastating. Devastating is a pretty big word to use. Can you explain to me how this is devastating?
So yeah, no, great question, Tom. So we use the Heritage Energy model, which is basically the same model that the federal government uses to look at energy policies. And we found that when you actually try to model the Green New Deal as is, it literally crashes this government model. The model cannot handle the CO2 reductions that the advocates of the bill want.
Wow.
But when we do model the bill to the best of our ability or the best of the model's ability, we find that the result would be in over 20 years, over $15 trillion in lost GDP, which amounts to $165,000 in lost income for a family of four, over $1 million over 1 million jobs lost on an annual basis, and up to 30% increase in house electricity expenditures, all for essentially no environmental benefit whatsoever. We also have a climate simulator model, the model for the assessment of greenhouse gas-induced climate change. And we use that model. It's also a government model. And we found that the Green New Deal would result in less than 0.2 degrees Celsius temperature change. So it's essentially all pain for essentially no gain whatsoever.
So the cost-benefit analysis really indicates that it's really prohibitive, is what you're saying?
Basically, I mean, it's going to be quite devastating all across the country, and the reason is quite simple. You're raising the cost of the fundamental building block of civilization, energy, people unfortunately take energy for granted, and they don't realize what ramifications it's going to have.
Right. So we get that these, proposals like this are inherently just not going to work. Are there alternatives that you guys are thinking about, or ways that you were looking at mitigating something like that?
Well, I mean, so again, everybody wants clean water, clean air, and like I said, a healthy environment. And the real question is, what are these policies going to do? The United States is already leading the way in CO2 emissions reductions. About a year ago, it was reported that the United States reduced CO2 emissions by more than any other country in the world. And the reason is because of the shale oil and gas revolution, shifting toward natural gas has become a very efficient, low-cost alternative, and it emits less carbon dioxide. But I think the bottom line is, I don't believe that we are headed toward catastrophe. I think most of the most recent climate research indicates that although the climate is changing, this is vastly overstated. And again, these policies that carbon capture, carbon reduction-related policies are not going to do anything about the problem.
Cool. So if you had one message today for legislators that are working on issues such as this, whether in committee today or out in the states, what would you tell them?
Well, the bottom line is, Tom, the Green New Deal, policies such as the Green New Deal, not just the Green New Deal, any carbon capture, carbon tax-related policy, it's going to come with significant economic costs, job losses all across the board, and it's not going to have any impact on the environment whatsoever. So we urge policymakers to keep that in mind when discussing these types of policies with their colleagues.
Very cool. Kevin, I want to thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks for having me, Tom.
You got it. Keep it right here for more ALEC TV, folks.